Is it Duckworth? Is it Hirono? Or is it sleeper candidate Slotkin? Sleeper candidate Slotkin of Michigan got under my skin more than any other. And it was mostly because as I watched her, I knew she was smart enough to know better. She's smart. You could tell she's definitely smart, but so infuriating. It was like bamboo shoots under my fingernails listening. Like Hirono was kind of amusing. Like, I hate you, but you're very amusing. Duckworth was very annoying and less amusing, like a sad little lady, but like less amusing than Hirono. And then Slotkin was probably the most pernicious because she's got some gravitas in the way she approaches her messaging. But, and she worked for the CIA under George W. Bush, under Barack Obama. And I'm not sure if she was still there under Trump. I think she may have left. And she ran for office as a Dem in Michigan in 2018. And that's what she's been doing, and now ran for Senate. And she beat Republican Mike Rogers for the Senate seat. That could have been an R seat. She won it. Too bad, because Mike Rogers would have been a far superior choice. So, all right, I guess I'll go through them in that order so you can go on the same journey I did. Let's start with Mazie Hirono, who you heard Michael Knowles say yesterday. No civilized country would make this woman a senator, but she did. And just what I wanted to do in this soundbite that we cut for you here is show you, yes, she's a moron, but listen to how uninterested she was in any answers from Pete Hegseth. It was all performative. And Mazie, you're not a good performer, but just watch.
I have read multiple reports of your regularly being drunk at work, including by people who worked with you at Fox News. Do you know that being drunk at work is prohibited for service members under the UCMJ?
Senator, those
yes
are
or no?
Multiple false anonymous reports peddled by NBC
Do you
News
know
that run
that
directly
drinking on the job
contradictory to the dozens of men and women at Fox News Channel who I work with,
I'm
who
not
came
hearing
on
the
the
answer
record.
to my question. Will you resign as Secretary of Defense if you drink on the job, which is a 24/7 position?
I've made this commitment on behalf of
Will
the
you
men and women I'm
resign
serving.
as Secretary of Defense
I've
if
made this
you
commitment
drink
on
on the
behalf
job?
of the men and women I'm serving.
I'm not
because it's the
hearing-
most important deployment
I'm not
of my
hearing an
life.
answer to my question, so I'm going to move on. Would you carry out such an order from President Trump?
Senator, I was in the Washington, D.C. National Guard unit that was in Lafayette Square during those
Would you
events,
carry
holding
out
a
an
riot
order to
shield on
shoot
behalf of my
protesters
country.
in the legs?
I saw 50
as
Secret
directed
Service agents
to
get injured
Secretary
by
Esper?
rioters trying to jump over the fence, set
Again,
the church on fire, and destroy
You know
a
what?
statue.
That sounds to me that you will
Chaos.
comply with such an order. You will shoot protesters in the leg. Would you use our military to take over Greenland or an ally of Denmark?
Senator, one of the things that President Trump is so good at is never strategically tipping his hand. And so I would never in this public forum give one way or another direct what orders the president would give me in any context.
That sounds to me that you would contemplate carrying out such an order to basically invade Greenland and take over the Panama Canal. DoD policy allows service members and eligible dependents to be reimbursed for travel associated with non-covered reproductive health care, including abortions. Will you maintain this common sense policy?
Senator, I've always been personally pro-life. I know President Trump has as well, and we will review all policies. Federal
I'm
government
not
should be
hearing
funding
answers to my questions,
travel for
Mr.
abortion.
Chairman.
Yeah, because you won't listen. Because you refuse to just listen to the nominee who is trying to answer them, just not in the way you like. He actually did try to give you an answer about those drunkenness reports, talking about how it was an NBC hit job against him. It was a denial, madam. You just didn't want to hear it. And her thing about the Greenland and Panama, what she's really saying there is, I object to Donald Trump. I hate Trump. I hate what he's saying. Will you do what I want instead of what Trump wants? And Pete Hegseth is not taking that bait. Oh, I know it's upsetting, isn't it, madam? You lost. You didn't get your way. And she's working things out on the bench from the seat up there. She was just, look, she wasn't effective. She was kind of whiny, and nobody paid any attention to her. She scored no points whatsoever. So, okay, I guess, maybe she did a little high five with her staff. I did see Elizabeth Warren when I was in the room yesterday go over to Tim Kaine, and they were saying good job to one another. little tag team. Oh, we're the smartest. We got him. But let's get back to the most annoying. My list of most annoying senators at the Pete Hegseth confirmation hearings yesterday. Again, most smarmy, most despicable, that's Tim Kaine. But I'm going to put Mazie Hirono in the third spot for most annoying. Since she was so pathetic, it was hard to be really annoyed as opposed to just kind of mocking her. In number 2, Tammy Duckworth, senator from Illinois, who was equally disrespectful of Pete Hegseth and equally uninterested in hearing his answers, and she tried to do a couple of gotchas against Pete, which we've captured a bit in this soundbite, which I'm going to talk to you about on the back end. Watch here.
Have you led an audit of any organization? Yes or no? I don't want a long answer. Yes or no? Have you led an audit of any organization of which you were in charge?
Senator, in both of the organizations I ran, we were always completely fiscally responsible.
Yes or no? Did you lead an audit?
And the way
yes or no? Did you lead an audit? Yes or no?
What
are you afraid of? You can't answer this question. Yes or no? Did you lead an audit? Do you not know this answer?
Senator, every part of my leadership of these organizations has been misrepresented.
I will take that as a no.
Bottom.
What is the highest level of international security agreement that you have led? And can you name some that the Secretary of Defense would lead? There's 3 main ones. Do you know?
I have not been involved in international security arrangements because I have not been in government other than serving in the military. So my job has been to
no. The answer is no. Can you name one of the 3 main ones that the Secretary of Defense
signs? You're talking about defense arrangements. I mean, NATO might be one that you're referring to.
Status of Forces Agreement would be one of them.
Status of Forces Agreement. I've been a part of teaching about Status of Forces Agreements.
But you don't remember to mention it?
Okay, so it's like a little fun memory test by Tammy Duckworth. Trying to do little let's play, my little guessing game. I'm your high school history professor, and we're going to see how well you can do on my little pop quiz for you. Then she got into ASEAN. Remember this? Do we have this, Deb? We had a cut yesterday, I think. Can we bring it over? Where she tried to do she did like a gotcha on him about this group of South Asian countries and whether it was really a test, I guess, to understand whether he knew this, this abbreviation, right? This ASEAN. I remember when I heard it, I'm like, it's pronounced Asian, because I had no idea what she was talking about either. ASEAN. And by the way, apparently that's not how you pronounce even the group that she was talking about. It is actually pronounced closer to Asian. It's this group of countries in Southeast Asia that very together individually they don't amount to much economically or otherwise, but together they're about the size of the UK and they have more bargaining power. So sometimes they try to refer to themselves as a group, but it's more of an economic deal than a political or than a military deal. So amazingly, Pete hadn't studied up on his acronyms for every single region in the United States, and I guess flunked her little test. And she and leftists on Twitter lost their minds over this.
Specific a little bit, and I'm glad that you mentioned it. Can you name the importance of at least one of the nations in the ASEAN, and what type of agreement we have with at least one of those nations? And how many nations are in ASEAN, by the way?
I couldn't tell you the exact amount of nations in that, but I know we have allies in South Korea and Japan and in AUKUS with Australia, trying to work on submarines with them.
Mr. Hegseth, none of those countries are in ASEAN.
Across.
None of those 3 countries that you've mentioned are in ASEAN. I suggest you do a little homework before you prepare for these types of negotiations. Listen.
Just trying to make them look dumb. No, literally nobody knew about this group, that's what they go by. You want to go through the names, the individual names? Sure, I'm sure he'd be happy to talk to you about the individual names and what the strategic interests of the United States are with respect to each one or together as a group. But because he didn't know her little acronym, she tried to make him look stupid like he is a dumbass, and she failed. I mean, it's one thing if everybody in the room is like, oh my God, he doesn't know what NATO is? Holy shit, right? I mean, that's one thing. But this, where everybody's like, what's that? What did she say? I think it's pronounced ocean or Asian. You tried and you failed. So She is my number 2 most annoying and irritating senator from yesterday. And then we get to number 1. That's the sleeper candidate I was telling you about, this Slotkin. Okay, now Slotkin is, if memory serves, I did look it up and now I can't remember, but I think that she may have gone to Columbia. She's got one of these, highfalutin backgrounds in education. And then she joined the CIA. Columbia. There you go. That explains a lot. And then she joined the CIA, and now she's a politician out of Michigan. So she starts off by trying to bond with Pete. I'm of the CIA. I guess she was fluent in Farsi and one other relevant language. Maybe I can't remember what it was. And that's why she got hired by the CIA. So in any event, it's not the same. I respect her service, but it's really not the same as being on the front lines, being shot at, but fine. Okay. So she's kind of tries to put them on par with each other. We're both military people. So I completely get it. I get it. And I trust me, I believe you. I believe you that you care. I believe you that you care about the troops. Genuinely, I'm with you. And at first I was a little fooled by it. And then as you watched her over the course of the 7 minutes, you really just kind of wanted to punch her in the face. Don't punch her in the face. It's just an urge she brought up rage inside of one. That's the point I'm trying to make here, because she was just so nasty and passive aggressive and kept slipping in little deceptive pieces of information. We'll play you this soundbite here. Listen to the part where in particular she tries to pretend that Trump said he was going to unleash the military on his, quote, enemies within. We've covered that a lot on this show. That's not what he said. He was specifically asked by Maria Bartiromo whether if there were protests around the election that got violent, what would he do? And that, in response to that, he said, you might have to use the military, and referred to some people as being enemies from within. But the left has been conflating these two terms ever since, trying to say Trump's going to unleash the U.S. military on American citizens who do not vote for him. So she slides that in there. She tries to belittle Pete as, well, you'll listen. Watch.
You will be the one man standing in the breach should President Trump give an illegal order, right? I'm not saying he will, but if he does, you are going to be the guy that he calls to implement this order.
That President Trump is going to be giving illegal orders.
No, I'm not saying he will, but do you believe there is such a thing as an illegal order that Joe Biden or any other president, Donald Trump, could give? Is there anything that a commander-in-chief could ask you to do with the uniformed military that would be in violation of the U.S. Constitution?
Senator, anybody of any party
Right.
could give an order that is against the Constitution or against the law.
Right. Okay. So are you saying that you would stand in the breach and push back if you were given an illegal order?
I start by saying I reject the premise that President
I
Trump will be
understand
giving
you've done your
any
genuflecting
illegal
to him,
orders
but
at all.
This isn't a hypothetical. Was asked and did use uniformed military to clear unarmed protesters. He was given the order to potentially shoot at them. Helos flew low in Washington, D.C. as crowd control. He later apologized publicly for those actions. Was he right or wrong to apologize?
Senator, I was there on the ground.
And
I saw the
understand,
helo
and I
myself.
respect that.
I've been there.
But you're about to be the Secretary of Defense.
That was involved in that moment. I
Was
also
he right
understand
to? So he was
legality and the Constitution.
Sir, was he right
and the laws
or
of what
wrong
you
to
have.
apologize?
I'm not going to put words in the mouth of Secretary Esper or anybody else.
He said them himself. You don't have to. What are you scared of? Did he do the right thing by apologizing?
I'm not scared of anything, Senator.
Then say
I'm
yes or no.
interested
You
in
can say
upholding the
no.
law.
President Trump said in November that he is willing to consider using the active duty military against the, quote, enemy within. Have you been personally involved in discussions of using the U.S. military active duty inside the United States?
Senator, I'm fine. I'm glad we finally got to the topic of border security equaling national security, because it's been abdicated and ignored for the last 4 years.
That wasn't my question. I'm just asking, have you been involved? You're about to be the Secretary of Defense, potentially. Have you been involved in discussions about using the active duty military inside the United States?
Senator, I am not yet the Secretary of Defense.
Right. I'm
if
just
confirmed, I would be party to any number of
But you
conversations.
haven't been in any of these
which
conversations.
I would not reveal what I have discussed with the President of the United States.
Just have you been in conversations? Do you support the use of active duty military in supporting detention camps?
Senator, everything we will do would be lawful and under the Constitution,
Okay,
but
I'm
I
gonna take that as a
recognize
yes.
What are you scared of? Because you're a big, bad CIA agent, and you're so tough. You're tougher than Pete, sure, who served his country not just at Gitmo, but in Iraq and Afghanistan. You're a scaredy cat. What are you so afraid of? What a child. What an absolute brat. You know what? She was assistant secretary, like an undersecretary for defense under, was it Obama or Biden? And so she's bitter. She's jealous. She's never going to get this role. Sorry, sister. Somebody who's your age, who actually took even greater risks than you did, is going to be recognized now and is going to be running the agency that you were just a lower part of. I know you're going to have to suck it up. You can't blame it on sexism under Obama. You can't blame it on racism. It's just you weren't good enough, and he is. So go ahead and vote no. He's still getting in there. Increased tariffs on our trade partners, tax cuts, and regulation changes. There's a reason why gold is a diversification tactic now more than ever. Birch Gold is releasing their ultimate guide for gold in the Trump era with a foreword by Donald Trump Jr. To get your free copy along with Birch Gold's free information kit on gold, text MK to the number 989898. Here are the facts. The national debt continues to increase. Our interest payments on the national debt continue to increase. And gold can be your hedge against a weakened dollar. Birch Gold can convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. Text MK to 989898 for your free copy of the ultimate guide for gold in the Trump era. No obligation, just information. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, countless 5-star reviews, and thousands of happy customers, find out more about Birch Gold today. Text MK to the number 989898 to figure out your diversification options today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.